Albert Fish was born in 1870 in Washington, D.C. His childhood was marked by tragedy. His father died when he was only 5 years old, and his mother was forced to place him in an orphanage. But the orphanage wasn't a safe place, it was a place of cruelty. Albert was beaten, humiliated, and abused almost daily. Most children break under such torment, but Albert? He learned to enjoy it. The pain became a strange kind of pleasure, and that twisted seed would grow into something monstrous. The mask of normalcy. Years later, Fish walked among ordinary people. He was soft-spoken, polite, and often described as a quiet gentleman. A house painter, a father of 6 children, and a man who blended into society like a shadow. But behind that fragile mask lived a predator. By the early 1900s, Fish began committing crimes against children. He would lure them with kindness, offering food, money, or odd jobs before dragging them into a nightmare they would never escape. His obsessions grew darker with time, pain, torture, cannibalism. Albert Fish didn't just kill, he savored suffering. The terrifying letters? Fish wasn't content with the crimes themselves. He wanted to relive them again and again. And so he began writing letters, chilling, graphic confessions sent to the families of his victims. He described every horrific act in disturbing detail, forcing grieving parents to read the unthinkable. Even hardened detectives who read those letters admitted they had nightmares afterward. The case of Grace Budd. His most infamous crime was the disappearance of 10-year-old Grace Budd. In 1928, Fish posed as a wealthy farmer looking for workers. He visited the Budd family home and quickly gained their trust. With a gentle smile, he offered Grace a chance to attend a party with his niece. Her parents thought she'd be safe with the kind old man. They were wrong. Fish took Grace to an abandoned house in the countryside. She never came back. For years, her family lived in torment, not knowing what happened to their little girl. Then, in 1934, they received a letter. Inside were words so horrifying, so grotesque, that I won't repeat them fully here. But in that letter, Albert Fish confessed to killing Grace. And much, much worse. It was a message that broke the family and shocked the entire nation. Capture and trial. The letter became Fish's downfall. Police traced it back to a boarding house in Manhattan. When they finally caught him, Fish didn't fight. He didn't run. Instead, he smiled, calm, almost relieved. At trial, the world learned the full extent of his crimes. Stories of countless victims. Torture devices he had built himself. Even doctors who examined him admitted they had never seen a case so disturbing, and through it all, Albert Fish showed no remorse. In fact, he seemed to enjoy describing his atrocities. At one point, he even told the court that he believed God had commanded him to kill. The sentence, the jury didn't hesitate. Albert Fish was sentenced to death. But here's the chilling part. He welcomed it. He called the electric chair the supreme thrill, and said he was eager to feel it. On January 16, 1936, Albert Fish was led into the execution chamber. Witnesses said he looked almost excited. Moments later, the switch was pulled, and the nightmare was finally over. Closing the haunting legacy. Albert Fish is remembered as one of the most sadistic killers in American history. His story isn't just about murder. It is about the darkest depths a human mind can sink to. And perhaps the most terrifying part is how ordinary he seemed. A quiet old man, a polite neighbor, a father, hiding a hunger so disturbing it defies imagination. So remember, the real monsters don't always hide under the bed. Sometimes they walk among us, smiling, waiting, blending in,